In 2417, centuries after the Earth became uninhabitable, a longevity-enhanced pilot named Coakley and her AI co-pilot Roscoe traveled to a new planet called Kepler-16b in search of a new home for the human species. One day, 210 years into the mission, Roscoe wakes up Coakley in the morning, as it does every day, and asks her how she's doing. After a few minutes of chit-chat with her AI companion, Coakley proceeds to do some exercises to keep fit.
It's already been 210 years, so...
Won't that be nice, huh?
Then Coakley spends the morning doing some repairs and by midday asks Roscoe to make her lunch.
What's for lunch?
While eating lunch, Coakley wishes to find something to occupy her mind with and starts asking Roscoe detailed technical questions on the systems of the spaceship until it assures her that everything is closely monitored 24/7. Moments later, Coakley lightly inspects the plants around the room and wonders if they're getting enough water. Roscoe runs a quick test and, after assuring Coakley that the soil water content is within range. Later, after noticing some fluctuation in oxygen levels, hoping not to alarm the pilot, Roscoe casually informs Coakley that there's a minimal decrease in the oxygen produced in the green room and asks her to check on the plants. Coakley follows the suggestion, checks on the palms, and is quite shocked to find a diseased plant. Confused by such a discovery in the highly regulated environment and hoping to get ahead of it before it spreads to the rest, Coakley prepares to disinfect the greenhouse and study the infected specimen. However, Roscoe has a hard time comprehending how a contaminant entered the greenhouse, and instead of helping with Coakley's plan, takes some time trying to figure out how such an incident can happen in a sealed spaceship. Coakley spends the rest of the afternoon collecting all of the contaminated plants, ends up losing 4.5% of the oxygen-producing palms, and becomes stressed out. Seeing this and sympathizing with the situation, Roscoe tries to calm Coakley down.
Because it already had 1,000,000 degrees.
Later, as Roscoe and Coakley discuss the situation, Roscoe explains that if the pattern continues and the loss accumulates to more than 6%, their mission will automatically fail. Still confused about how a pathogen sneaked through the closed system and caused an infection, Roscoe adds that anything more than 6% will endanger all of the embryos on board. Desperate not to fail humanity and render it extinct, Coakley pushes this fact aside, and after learning that the infection was caused by a virus, focuses all of her energy on developing an antivirus. Later, Coakley frantically goes around the green room, disinfecting every inch of it while chatting with Roscoe, and decides to turn off all of the non-essential electrical units to save on oxygen consumption, even if marginally.
I understand it from a mechanical standpoint.
Can you turn off all the non-essential electrical units? Turn them all off, I'm fine in the dark.
Then moments later, Coakley gets the good news she's been waiting for and learns that Roscoe has finally found the right formula for the antivirus. Then Coakley oversees Roscoe as it develops the antivirus, desperately hoping that it will put a stop to the rapid infection and sprays it all over the palms. However, later, Roscoe runs some more tests and informs Coakley that, despite being especially tailored to the infection, the medicine has failed miserably. Having a hard time navigating the unprecedented ordeal, both Coakley and Roscoe panic for fear of further decline in oxygen levels inside the spaceship, which will soon start to affect critical systems and the embryos on board. Feeling the tremendous weight of the challenge, Coakley shuts down Roscoe for a few hours to quietly evaluate the situation and weigh potential options. Later, Coakley cites that the only sure way to kill the virus is to get rid of the host and suggests that they should destroy all the palms and plant a fresh batch. However, despite sensing the pilot's urgency, Roscoe moves against this idea by remarking that they can use the diseased animals to develop a resistant strain of palms. Then Roscoe takes a moment to consider the suggestion further and explains that if they do go ahead with that idea, there won't be enough oxygen for 2 years while the new batch grows in, and that it would take the entire journey to reach the proper oxygen levels to host the future babies. Once again feeling cornered, Coakley decides to minimize oxygen usage aboard the spaceship and asks which systems use it the most. However, Coakley is dismayed to face the hard truth that, as the only organic systems, she and the embryos use 98% of the oxygen produced by the plants. With panic setting in Coakley's heart, she states that it's fair to assume that she uses more oxygen than the embryos, and wonders if killing herself will make the mission easier. As Roscoe reacts violently to this suggestion, Coakley tries to remain logical and explains that without her, the mission can maintain its course easily, and reminds Roscoe that once the spaceship reaches Kepler, the labor can be automated, and Roscoe can incubate the stem cells and raise the kids. Overwhelmed by the unexpected suggestion, Roscoe asks to be given some time to run the data associated with each scenario so that it can offer informed advice. However, still reeling from the drastic measures suggested and desperately searching for another way out, Roscoe mentions that they can find a way to construct a backup greenhouse and produce additional oxygen and promises to look into it. Later, as Coakley does some research to come up with the best solution for the significant problem at hand, Roscoe announces that, after running all of the data and simulations at its disposal, it has decided that the best solution is to use its mainframe to plant the algae on board, and ignoring Coakley's hesitation, explains that, since the mainframe can directly feed oxygen to the life support system, it's best suited for the task.
It's the perfect spot. It'll feed oxygen directly to the life support system.
Taken aback by the drastic idea, Coakley feels like she now has to choose and kill either herself or Roscoe for the sake of the mission. Noticing Coakley's profuse resistance and hoping to calm her down, Roscoe promises to run more simulations to find out which one of them is more likely to complete the mission successfully so that they can make an informed decision. After a stressful and sleepless night, Coakley rises early and asks Roscoe to reveal the results of her calculation. However, Roscoe uncharacteristically resists and tries to change the subject. Perplexed, Coakley sternly asks Roscoe for the results and is amused to learn that she is fractionally better suited to complete the mission and survive on Kepler.
No, I want to double check this.
Suspicious of Roscoe's intention, Coakley attempts to double-check the calculations and learns that her companion has assigned a value and added unpredictable variables to boost her results, and becomes concerned.
Believe the answer you're giving me. What if you're lying?
Faced with the impossible decision of having to potentially eliminate Roscoe, the only companion she's had for the last 210 years, and who has played a major role in the continuity of the mission, an overwhelmed Coakley spends the whole day reading Roscoe's manual and trying to figure out if there's a way around permanently destroying the system. That evening, Coakley retires to her bed early, but spends the night tossing and turning in bed without even a wink of sleep. The next morning, Coakley once again rises early, and after reminding herself that she has to make the difficult decision for the greater good, heads to Roscoe's sophisticated mainframe.
Hey,
Hey.
I couldn't even if I wanted to.
Then, following Roscoe's direction, an emotional Coakley prepares to shut off the system for good.
Any last words?
Take good care of the children for me.
Then, while crying for her only friend, Coakley pulls the lever, shutting off Roscoe's system. After some time as the spaceship nears Kepler, Coakley continues her daily routines and tasks, yet still drowns in sheer loneliness and silence. Hoping to distract herself from the emptiness that surrounds her, Coakley focuses on her tasks and plants the algae in the mainframe, as planned. Just like Roscoe had predicted, the algae flourish quickly and soon form a small forest of their own. Relieved by the success of the costly decision, Coakley checks the oxygen levels of the spaceship and is impressed by the result. Then, following the procedure, Coakley starts settlement preparations and begins studying her manuals thoroughly. After some time, Coakley makes the necessary preparations to birth the embryos in an artificial womb, cautiously proceeds with the procedure, and anxiously waits for some good news. However, later, she's disappointed to see that all her attempts have failed miserably. Crushed by the pressure of holding humanity's future in her hands, Coakley spends the rest of the day reading as much as she can on the procedure and retrying the process over and over again, while desperately hoping for a positive result. After years of trials and emotional roller coasters, Coakley finally manages to birth the first baby, excitedly welcomes her, and names her V. A few years later, Coakley narrates to V that humanity had to abandon Earth, which had become uninhabitable about 3 centuries ago. She then shows her satellite images of the 50 drones planting seeds on Kepler to prepare it for their arrival, and teaches her that they must treat their new home better than their ancestors had treated the Earth. Coakley then explains that she was biologically enhanced to never grow old so that she can make sure Kepler is populated properly. Unable to wrap her head around the fact that she will one day be older than her guardian, the young girl asks for clarification.
You grow up like really, really fast, and I grow slow.
Then I will be older than you?
Someday, yeah.
Sometime later, V helps Coakley take care of the new babies, successfully born from the artificial womb. Then the young girl waters the modified greenhouse while thanking Roscoe for its sacrifice.
Thank you, Roscoe.
Thank you, Roscoe.
Sometime later, Coakley teaches V how to run simulations on different systems and teaches her the importance of being self-sufficient.
Ugh! I can't do it.
Then while the other kids run around having fun, Coakley pulls V aside and stresses that the mission depends on their vigilance and discipline, and warns her to follow the rules and procedures to the letter in any circumstance. Years later, as the spaceship nears Kepler, it experiences a shaky few minutes that scare the teenagers on board. Once the spaceship safely lands, V calms down the other kids and helps Coakley, who stands on the verge of history and prepares to disembark.
And
I'll keep the kids safe until you're back.
Coakley then gifts V a very special and meaningful necklace, given to her right before she left Earth.
No, it's for you.
Once alone, Coakley takes a moment to absorb the significance of the mission, which has secured humanity's continued existence. After the long, utterly lonely, and demanding journey, she steps out of the spaceship for the first time in 336 years and breathes a sigh of relief as she steps out onto the coveted greenery of Kepler. Years later, Kepler is well populated, civilization booms, and cities stand tall amidst the greenery, which has kindly welcomed humanity and acclimated it to its new home. One day, Coakley is informed of V's death and rushes to attend her funeral. There, the lifeless body of V, who is now a gray-haired elderly woman, lies peacefully, as the community prepares for a respectful farewell ceremony. Upon arrival, Coakley solemnly stares at V's body, which still has the special necklace hanging from the neck, and is suddenly flooded by memories of the woman, who was the first tangible hope for humanity's continuity. As memories flash through her mind, Coakley sees humanity through a new lens. What once seemed a fragile blink of an eye in the vast universe has transformed into a force that endures, leaving its mark across centuries.
And now I see you and your children